We got shirts on sale. Express your love for the evolutions and the new channel rebrand with an evolution t-shirt and hoodie. On sale now. Also, if you like anime, go check out our anime channel MysticSage for awesome anime content. And be sure to follow me on social media so you can stay caught up with the channels and me. Links will be in the description below. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Explain series. Today, I'll be discussing the tower duo, Ho-Oh and Lugia, and what makes them so awesome. I'll be going over both of these legendaries separately to give them their own spotlight. We're going to be learning many things about them, like what they're based on, why they're named the way they are, and their typings. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you don't count Ho-Oh's appearance in the very first episode of the Pokemon anime, it and Lugia made their first appearance in the 1999's Pokemon Gold and Silver. Those releases ended up, of course, with the fan-favorite remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver in 2009, bringing the two back to the box art of games for the first time in 10 years. Two regions to explore, a wide array of Pokemon, and absolutely beautiful graphics for the time makes things pretty self-explanatory when it comes to the massive popularity these games have. So what is it that makes these two Pokemon so popular? Well, I can guarantee you, it's more than just being associated with these two great games. And I'm gonna lay it all out for you with a pretty thorough explanation. Known as the Rainbow Pokemon, Ho-Oh is a fire and flying type, and with one look at its wings and tail feathers, it's fairly obvious why. It's never had its own dedicated film like its counterpart, but it did play a part in I Choose You. In the movie, we see the events of the first episode of the anime play out, but this time, a feather drops down from the sky just for Ash, and he keeps it with him throughout his journey. In the film, Ash meets a character named Sorrel, who tells him about the legend we all know, that Ho-Oh gave life to the three legendary beasts. By the way, you can actually check out my Legendary Beast Explain video for more on that very legend. I don't want to get too deep into the plot of this movie, so I'll stop there. It's a pretty good watch if you're a fan of the original anime, since a lot of iconic scenes from it get recreated for the film, though I'm not a huge fan of it myself. So moving on, let's check out what the Pokédex has to say about it. According to its entry in Pokemon Gold, legends claim this Pokemon flies the world's skies continuously on its magnificent 7-colored wings. And in Silver, its entry states, a legend says that its body glows in 7 colors. A rainbow is said to form behind it when it flies. Despite the fact that in every iteration of it, we see Ho-Oh's wings are only 3 colors, not 7. This is probably due to a need for a simpler design due to hardware limitations of the time, or for a different in-universe reason like the way light hits its wings or something of that sort. With Ho-Oh's typing in mind, its move pool seems to make sense. Unsurprisingly, it learns a lot of fire and flying moves, the most notable of such being its former signature move, Sacred Fire, Fire Blast, Brave Bird, and Sky Attack. However, it can also learn a handful of second type attacks, none of which are too interesting or powerful. They include moves like Future Sight and Calm Mind, but the diversity in its move pool is still appreciated. With all the power available to Ho-Oh, there's no doubt its ordinance is cool, right? Well, I did some research, and yeah, Ho-Oh is just as cool as you think it is, if not more so. There are two main inspirations for Ho-Oh, a phoenix of course, but more specifically, the Fanged one and the Humabird. The Fanged one is also known as Ho-Oh, which of course makes it a clear inspiration. It's said that they have the neck of a snake with the tail of a peacock and have 5 gorgeous colors. It is also seen as a symbol of grace and virtue, which definitely sounds like the Ho-Oh we know. Prior to being called Fangguan, the males of the species were known as Fang, and the females as Huang. But in modern times, their names are combined and their gender is disregarded. Perhaps this is why the reason why Ho-Oh is genderless? Fangguan are also often called the August Rooster, and sometimes represent the rooster in the Chinese zodiac. Its status as a rooster might also explain why Ho-Oh has that crest on the top of its head. Moving on to the Humabird, it's actually an Iranian legend. It has been said to never land on the ground and live its life in the clouds, which explains Ho-Oh's gold Pokédex entry and its immunity to ground type moves in a lore sense. The Huma is also known to be compassionate and even be a sign of good fortune and bestow eternal happiness for whoever sees it. Taking the first episode of the anime into consideration, and when we learn about Ho-Oh and I Choose You, it's pretty obvious that's something else that made its way into the legendary's lore. Just like the Phoenix, the Humabird is said to engulf itself in flames in order to reincarnate itself, which is just like what Ho-Oh did to bring life to the 3 beasts. This is quite possibly a nod to Ho-Oh's hidden ability, Regenerator, which will restore a third of its HP when it switches out from battle, and its held item, Sacred Ash, which could be seen as its own Ash that can revive the entirety of your team in battle to full HP. You know? It was a lot of fun to research this, and I never knew Ho-Oh had so many inspirations behind it. Though, if you thought that was interesting, wait until you hear about what Lugia is based on. Despite being known as the diving Pokemon, Lugia doesn't actually have the water typing. instead being both psychic and flying type. It has made many appearances in the anime and in a couple movies as well. Who can forget the episode of the anime where we get to see it and its baby? It's even the focal point of its own movie, Pokemon the Movie 2000, The Power of One. It's definitely not a stretch to say that Lugia is extremely well loved by the franchise, perhaps even more so than Ho-Oh. Lugia sees so much more representation across Pokemon media, but just exactly how powerful is it anyway? Maybe its Pokedex entries will give us a clue as to what's behind those massive wings and terrifying strength. There are a lot of interesting entries for Lugia across its many appearances in Pokemon games, but I'll of course take a direct look at what it is said in Gold and Silver. Its Gold entry states, "It is said that it quietly spends its time deep at the bottom of the sea, because its powers are too strong." This gives us a little insight into just how high on the power scale Lugia lands, and the fact that it literally has to hide itself where there's as little life as possible just goes to show that it isn't a legendary that should be messed with. Its Pokedex entry for Silver reads, "It is said to be the guardian of the seas. It is rumored to have been seen on the night of a storm." I can imagine that it got the Guardian of the Seas moniker due to its vast amount of time spent in the deep depths of the sea, and considering the crazy amount of weather manipulation it seems to be capable of creating, it's no wonder it's been rumored to be out and about when a storm is going on. This left me wondering if Lugia had many water moves in its move pool, considering how often the sea comes up in its dex entries. Though, when I was doing research and saw its move pool, I was actually quite surprised to learn that there's only 2 water type moves that it will learn by level up, the rest needing to be added on through TMs and HMs. Its move pool mostly consists of normal type moves, and of course a fair amount of flying and psychic type attacks. Those 2 water type moves it learns by level up are Hydro Pump and Rain Dance. I would assume it probably uses Rain Dance to cause those storms it's rumored to be seen in. Its psychic type attacks aren't anything special either, being Extrasensory, Future Sight, and Calm Mind. You would think it would be able to learn more than that by level up, considering it's a primary psychic type and all. Even though it's lacking a bit when it comes to psychic type moves, it's got some pretty strong flying type attacks. Well, except for Gust. The premier flying type moves it gets are of course its signature move, Aeroblast and Sky Attack. These definitely pack a punch and possibly explains how its wings are able to blow away houses as mentioned in its Ruby and Sapphire dex entry. So we've gone through the lore behind Lugia and its status as Guardian of the Sea, but it still is a bit odd that it doesn't have the water typing despite that title. While its relationship with the water may have something to do with its design inspirations, Lugia is based off of a couple things, the first being the Plesiosaur, and the Ryujin, which was the guardian deity of the sea in Japanese mythology. When it comes to the Plesiosaur's inspirations for Lugia, those are a bit plain to see. The bulging body and long neck of the extinct reptile is put to use in Lugia's design, though on the other side of things, unlike the Plesiosaur, who has flippers that allow it to swim fast, Lugia has feet that allow it to also walk on land and aid in swimming. It's also been assumed that the Loch Ness Monster is a Plesiosaur, which could be the basis behind the idea that Lugia only shows up during storms. That's about the extent of similarity between Lugia and the Plesiosaur, and while it might seem more like something to bring up when talking about Lapras, I still felt it was worth looking into for Lugia's design. As for Ryujin, it's a Japanese dragon that is often used to depict the power and strength of the ocean. It is also said to live in a palace made out of red and white coral, which may explain Lugia's shiny coloration. It's also said that Ryujin can breathe both air and water, so that may explain why Lugia is able to stay underwater for so long, while clearly being able to stay out of the water for an extended period of time. So, with all this reference to water, I'm pretty sure many of you are wondering why it's not a water type. There's even a few cards in the official Pokemon TCG that depict Lugia with water typing. There isn't a super clear reason as to why that typing was left off, honestly. Though considering the psychic typing is meant to be associated with super powerful Pokemon back in the 2nd generation, as mentioned in an official interview in Nintendo Dream with Shigeki Morimoto. It just seems like they went with Lugia being psychic type instead of water, simply to reiterate the fact that it is incredibly powerful. Now let's talk about the towers you can find these 2 Pokemon hanging around in. In Kyoto, Japan, there are 2 temples. For the sake of me totally butchering these names, and so you don't have to hear me attempt to say them, I'll put them on screen instead. These are better known as the Gold and Silver Pavilion, respectively. These temples serve as the inspiration for the brass and tin towers we see in Necrotique City. I suppose we can take a deeper look into how. The Silver Pavilion is obviously related to the Tin Tower, since tin has a rather silver-like coloration. Now I can hear you already saying, "But Misty, the Tin Tower is Ho-Oh's tower, not Lugia's," and believe me, we'll get to that, just be a little patient. There are a couple of bird statues that are atop the 2 towers as well, just like how Ho-Oh and Lugia used to perch over the towers in the games. The phoenix on top of the gold tower can even explain Ho-Oh's shiny coloration. Now for one that's a bit harder to explain. The Gold Pavilion is represented by the brass tower, since brass clearly has a goldish tint and is even even been confused for gold in the past. During the 1400s, during the Onin War, the buildings supporting the tower were burned down, and years later in 1950, the tower was actually burned down as well. Unfortunately, it was a novice monk who burned it down and was later taken into custody. Both of these events are paid tribute to in the games by having the brass tower burned down and become known as the Burn Tower. Mystic, you still haven't explained why Lugia is in the gold tower. I know. Again, the less exciting answer would be that the developers wouldn't want players to think that Ho-Oh burned down its own tower. But you guys know me, I always look for a deeper reason. So, even though over here in the West, gold has little to no association with psychic and psychic powers, over in Japan, it seems gold has quite a strong connection with the idea of psychics. The games even have nods to this of Psyduck, which is gold in color and is said to have psychic abilities. And of course, Golduck, who has psychic powers and has gold in its name. This also serves as a good explanation as to why so many early psychic types like Drowsy, Hypno, and the Alakazam line also use a goldish yellow color. Another time when this idea comes up is of Sabrina's gym badge. We all know that Sabrina is a psychic type gym leader, and in the localized version of the games, she gives us the Marsh badge. However, in Japan, her badge is known as the Gold badge. So as you can see, they didn't just happen to put Lugia atop the gold tower just to be weird, but instead, because it was more fitting for a psychic type to be atop it. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, then make sure you don't forget to click the bell to make sure you never miss out on one of my uploads. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you learned anything from this video. And if you know anything I may have missed, please do share. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other Nintendo content like Zelda, Fire Emblem, and much more. Also, I've been reviewing every episode of My Hero Academia Season 4 over on MysticSage, so head over there if you're into that too. I would love that a lot. Want to support me further in game cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Memory Martin, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, Jarrett Weiss Austin, Sodden Grider, Nigma97, and Kermit117 did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mystic Umbran, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.